I'm Indra and I work in Brussels as a campaigner for the NGO organization PREND-ELLE. PREND-ELLE works with partners in tropical forest countries, but we focus on policies in the European Union. And the reason for this is very simple. Decisions made in Brussels, the seat of the EU power, reverberate in tropical forests around the world, as well as in the lives of the 1.6 billion people who depend on them. Yet for most people, it's really hard to understand how the EU works and how it reaches decisions and how those decisions can be influenced. So with this second video, we guide you through the EU using concrete examples of where civil society has successfully achieved changes that will halt deforestation and protect people's rights, and how you can do the same. Firstly, the history. The roots of the EU lie in the aftermath of the Second World War, when a number of European countries decided that economic and political unity could end the devastation and the bloodshed that had blighted the continent for so long. From there, the EU that we know today gradually emerged. Its main focus is building a common economic market with shared rules and standards. Today, the EU has the power to pass on certain laws, such as trade. On other things such as agriculture, the environment, and energy, the EU shares power with its member countries. Three main institutions make decisions in the European Union: the European Commission, Council of the European Union, and the European Parliament. Two of them are legislative bodies: the Parliament, where members are directly elected by European citizens, and then the Council, which is similar to a Senate and is made up by representatives from governments of the 27 European member states. Decisions made in these institutions and bodies in this technocratic world full of people in suits and confusing acronyms may seem a world far away from the precious forests, wetlands and savannas from Latin America and the lives of all these people who live there. And what happens in Brussels can directly impact the Amazon, the Cerrado, the Grand Chaco, as well as the Congo and the Southeast Asian basins. For example, EU citizens consume huge quantities of beef and soy, which are responsible for land grabs and environmental destruction. For civil society to influence EU decision makers, it helps, of course, to know how EU laws are made. Typically, it takes at least 3 years for an EU law to be developed, and it takes so many steps along the way. And it also involves people trying to influence these steps. There are an estimated 25,000 lobbyists working in Brussels, and they try to get views of their clients heard, whether it concerns agribusinesses, banks or car makers. So getting the attention of policymakers can be a real challenge for environmental and human rights organizations. When meeting EU policymakers, it's so important to adapt your speech to the person you're talking to. Some will be more sensitive to political arguments, while others really are convinced by technical expertise. The European Parliament is the most democratic and open, and that means getting a meeting with a member of the European Parliament, or a so-called MEP, or their assistant is a real achievable aim. Some MEPs are more powerful than others, such as the heads of delegations, heads of groups, heads of committees, and MEPs who've been elected for a long time also tend to have more influence than recently elected MEPs, and it takes time also for them to understand the rules of the game. MEPs are politicians, so they will therefore be more sensitive to political and big picture arguments, and they probably will also be interested to do things which will make them more visible, such as being interviewed by the media or commenting on newsworthy topics. Commissioners will be able to make big decisions, so when meeting a commissioner, you should try to get them to make a concrete commitment. However, you are most likely to work with cabinet members who will be your link to the commissioners. Finally, there is the EU Council, which is made up of the different national governments in the EU. And the best way to influence them is by meeting with the ministries of each of the country's capital cities. When EU policymakers hear directly from those who have seen and experienced the effect of their policies, it can transform their thinking and it helps to bridge different worlds. For example, in November 2019, a delegation of Brazilian indigenous leaders came to Brussels to alert the world about the crimes being committed against their people and to call on the EU to end its roles in these crimes. After meeting the Brazilian indigenous leaders, the European Commissioner for the European Green Deal committed to dialogue with them and protecting their livelihoods. Their testimony, including a meeting at the European Parliament, was instrumental, helping build an EU momentum for the new law to stop deforestation and land grabbing. It also helped stop the Mercosur deal as it stands. Every 2 years, my organization FERN organizes a tour for our partners from Africa and Southeast Asia, and they outline the challenges they face in their countries, and it enables policymakers to hear the voices of civil society from the countries where often these people are ignored or even are silenced. The current pandemic means that for the foreseeable future, unfortunately, these tours are out of the question. But virtual tours, webinars, social media campaigns, and many other creative activities can help fill the gap. In the EU bubble, Twitter is the social media king. And well-crafted Twitter campaigns aimed at decision makers can help your campaign on the mainstream agenda. Email dissemination campaigns using tools like MailChimp also can be very effective. The EU's consultation on policies to reduce deforestation and forest degradation will have a profound effect on the lives of indigenous and forest communities, as well as in the battle against climate change.
Since filming last time, we organized a virtual tour with allies in Brazil. Representatives from Amazon, APIB and Clima Observatorio met with representatives from 5 European member states, the Parliament and European Commission. They had one clear message: don't continue to negotiate with Brazil as long as the Brazilian government is encouraging land grabbing, deforestation and intimidation.
Participei da jornada virtual na Europa sobre o acordo Mercosul, Brasil e União Europeia, para esclarecer, né, para os públicos, seja ele pelo lado ao público da sociedade civil, parlamentar e investidores no Brasil, né, para passar a atual situação que o Brasil vem passando, principalmente nós povos indígenas, sobre os nossos territórios, sobre a questão da demarcação das terras e as invasões, né, por parte aí de garimpo, por parte de madeireiros.
We have to be realistic. A few meetings with policymakers in Europe will not change the world overnight, but it may help. And we understand that members of the Parliament, European Parliament, and also people in the member states integrate the messages they have heard into their own proposals on how to engage with Brazil in the months to come.